if you have a sweet tooth and you love sweet things and sugary things, but you want a healthy alternative, watch this video and I'm going to show you 5 amazing healthy sugar alternatives. Hey guys, it's Dr. Mona, and today I want to talk about healthy sugar alternatives. I think this is super important because there's so many sugar alternatives out there. There's artificial sweeteners that are really bad for you. Sometimes you think they're healthier because they say there are no calorie or they say there's no sugar. I want to introduce to you 5 sugar alternatives that I really like to use, I actually really approve of. They all actually have health benefits, they're natural, much better for you than sugar. So let's just get into it. I've got them all laid out right here, and I also have some coffee over here, and I'm gonna kind of explain the difference in taste between 2 of them that might be a little bit foreign to you, maybe you haven't heard of. First, let's quickly review sugar. I'm sure you know, if you're watching this video in general, sugar is not good for you. Now, I do want to distinguish between natural sugars that come from fruits and veggies versus cane sugar. I'm okay with eating fruit. In fact, I love fruit. I think it's the most naturally detoxing food on the planet. I love vegetables. For example, like beets have natural sugar. I mean, all fruits and veggies do. I'm okay with that kind of sugar. I do think that should still be eaten in limited quantities. You know, too much sugar isn't good for you, but again, I'm not saying to restrict sugar from bananas, fruits. I'm just saying to stop having artificial sugar. So if you're going out and buying packaged cookies or even like protein bars or actual like table sugar or cane sugar that's in a lot of box processed foods, these are alternatives I want you to consider. Let's start with the first one. There are a few things I consider when I'm looking into what sweetener or what sugar alternative is the healthiest. The first thing is how processed is it? And that kind of goes for any food, any health food. The least processed it is, the better. You don't want, the more like you mess with it, you take it from its original state, you're not only stripping all of the amazing health benefits it could have, but you're also just making it way more of a foreign substance to your body, and it's just added chemicals, toxins, just more you have to break down, so it's just not as good for you. The second thing is the glycemic index. Glycemic index basically just represents how long it takes for any kind of sugar to raise your blood sugar levels. So for example, some foods could have a certain amount of sugar, but they raise your blood sugar very slowly, and this is what we want. So you don't want that quick spike in blood sugar. This is when you're going to get that sugar crash. This is when it's more damaging to your body. So we want things with a lower glycemic index. So even if you looked at 2 foods and maybe the actual sugar content is higher or lower in one of them, the glycemic index is actually what matters more, and this is what you want to pay attention to. So I kind of have different options here, and to be honest, I don't necessarily love a certain amount more than the others, or I don't have like a specific order. Sometimes some are better for certain situations. Sometimes, of course, it depends on taste. We are human, so some things might taste better. Obviously, like here's one, monk fruit is a powder. You're not going to put this over pancake. Obviously, you're going to need something more liquid over pancake. So you have to take into consideration like real life situations and how it's going to taste, but also the health benefits. Let's start with monk fruit, because I feel like this is maybe one of the ones that more people are not familiar with. We've got monk fruit here. It is in powder form. It originates from Southeast Asia. It does come from an actual fruit. Basically, they take it and they remove the seeds and they squeeze all the juice out of it, and from that juice you get this sweetener. Now, it is 0 calorie, it is no sugar, it's a very natural. This is being used more and more. I like this because if you're comparing it to something like Sweet and Low or Equal, these are like very highly processed chemical sweeteners. Do not recommend. This is very natural, very healthy. It's really sweet. It's something like 200 times sweeter than sugar. The range is like 100 to 200 times sweeter. So a little bit goes a very long way. Like if you were to do 1 tablespoon of monk fruit versus 1 tablespoon of sugar, it would be way, way too sweet. So that's also good to know. A little bit goes a much longer way. When it comes to brand, make sure that you're finding something wherever you're ordering it from. You guys can find this on Thrive Market. I'll put a link below the video. Wherever you're ordering this from, whatever brand you use, just make sure it's always in the raw. If we're gonna choose these natural, organic, raw ingredients, make sure they're not adding other stuff to it. So it's really easy. Look on the back, check the ingredients. I can put a link below this video to where you can order these easily if you don't live near a Whole Foods or a health food store where you can find it. So next, let's talk about stevia. Here's an example of stevia. It comes in liquid form, it comes in powder form. This one's more native to North and South America. This comes from a stevia plant. We said that monk fruit was about 100 to 200 times sweeter than sugar. Obviously, this is a little bit subjective. It depends on your taste. I would say this one's like 200 to 300 times. The point is, this one's definitely a stronger taste than the monk fruit. Stevia is a little tricky because if you were to just try it, like if you were to take the powder form, for example, and just put a little bit on your tongue, it's very bitter. It tastes really weird. The first time I tried it, I hated it, but when you mix it in with food like oatmeals or smoothies and it actually like just combines with the food, overall it gives it a much sweeter taste. So you don't want to eat this on its own or try it on its own because you're probably not gonna like it. It's also a bit of an acquired taste. Once you get used to it, like I love stevia, I use it all the time. I really like the liquid one. I just think it's easier to drop into different food. They can come in little packets. Again, it's very natural, it's very safe. You know, years ago, they said that it was, but since then it's definitely back on the market. It is safe. You know, studies have shown that it's perfectly fine to use. I use it all the time. I really like it. I do want to compare these two. I wanted to do like a little taste test because I feel like these three that we're going to talk about later are kind of in their own category, and stevia and monk fruit are in their own category. So Cameron is the behind the camera guy, and I kind of wanted him to be in on this taste test too. I'm just going to do like a half a teaspoon.
A few moments later.
All right, guys, just so you know, monk fruit is a little powdery. It's almost like, feels a little almost like confectionery sugar, like the texture of it. All right, Cam, come try your coffee. I stirred yours. Let me know how you like this taste. I like it. It tastes like sweetener.
Yeah. There's no like weird flavors to it.
No weird flavors.
There's going to be weird flavors.
It doesn't taste chemically, right? It tastes a little bit sweeter. Could you use a little more than that, you think?
Probably. Yeah.
Probably. Okay, so I gave him like a half a teaspoon and about a half a cup full of coffee. Now I'm gonna add some stevia for you. And just put like 3 little drops. See if you can even taste that.
I'll make everything complicated.
You like that better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm glad we got that covered because I wanted to keep it real in this video.
Yeah. No,
okay.
It's way better.
Way better. Okay. Didn't we just say stevia is like, it's pretty much double the sweetness of monk fruit. So it has a distinct taste. It's much sweeter. A little bit goes a long way. Actually, when I think about it, if I add it into oatmeal, I'll add maybe like 2 or 3 drops into oatmeal. With coffee, if I do almond milk and cinnamon, then like maybe 1 or 2 drops of stevia. So play around with it. Like definitely try a little bit at a time, mix it in, you'll see. But either way, I very much approve of both of these. They're healthy. Let's quickly talk about the glycemic index. Glycemic index for these is 0 because there's no sugar. Like these, the honey and the maple syrup and what we're gonna get to over here has sugar, but it's a healthier source. These actually have no sugar. So 0 glycemic index does not raise your blood sugar, just sugar alternatives. So they're freebies. It's kind of examples like that where I'm like, there's no reason at all to ever use like a sweet and low or an equal. Like those are more poison to your body. I mean, they can cause cancer, they can cause toxicity. Like there's other options now. I think that maybe we just don't know, like other people don't know that there's other options like this that exist. If you watched my other videos, I have one of like, eat this, not that. I have talked about coconut nectar and like different in some of my content on Instagram. But what I have here is Manuka honey, maple syrup, and coconut nectar. Now, obviously these come in different situations. Like, you know, raw table sugar you would never put on pancakes or French toast anyway. I'm kind of talking about replacing these for sugar in like recipes. If you're baking something, if you're making cookies, you know, if you're blending, sometimes even like different soups or like potatoes for Thanksgiving. I know people use sweeteners. I'd highly recommend using these over table sugar. Not only is the glycemic index lower on all of these, but they all actually have health benefits. There's 2 things to consider. One is it bad for you? Is it causing disease? Is it causing diabetes and heart disease and obesity, which regular cane sugar can do? So these don't really lead to that when you're eating them in moderation. But the second thing is, do they have health benefits? So are they not causing bad and are they also causing good? And that's what we've got here. So if I had to pick my favorite of all of these for health benefits, I would say coconut nectar. The glycemic index of coconut nectar is about 35. This can obviously vary depending on brands because sometimes they might add other stuff to it. Like I said, for some reason when people manufacture things, they really like to make it a little more unhealthy because they're focused on taste and selling. So it's not always about how good it is for you, but pure coconut nectar is about 35 glycemic index. It's very natural. It's very like organic in its own state. It's got raw enzymes and minerals. So it actually has a lot of great health benefits. It has more of a honey taste than a maple syrup taste when you're comparing like the flavor profile. I've put it on pancakes before, but really this, like I said, this is for if you're baking. Sometimes I even make my own pancake batter, and instead of adding sweetener, I'll do coconut nectar. That's my favorite one. The next one I would say would be honey. Now this is Manuka honey. If you're getting honey, there's definitely a difference. Not all honey is created equal. You can kind of tell when they're like really processed. You can tell by the taste. I would go for Manuka honey. It's a little pricier, but it's almost like you're getting medicine when you're eating this. Like there's antibacterial properties, there's different minerals and vitamins. It's great for your immunity. You know, when you're sick, you can have honey with lemon and tea. Honey technically isn't vegan vegan. Some vegans will debate this. You know, I don't think it's really considered vegan because, you know, it does come from the gastric digestive juices of a bee. That's actually how it's made. So when it comes to that, it's not, but you can find ethically sourced honey. You can go get it at a local farmer's market. And the glycemic index of honey can range again, but on the lower end, it would be about 45, and on the higher end, it could be in the 60s. It's still a really good one. And like I said, I'm okay with honey. And the last one is maple syrup. Again, not all maple syrup is created equal. Definitely get pure organic, like 100% pure maple syrup. You know, don't go get like different brands like Aunt Jemima or the ones that might be more processed. Yes, the pure ones are a little more expensive, but it's really worth it in the long run. It's less money you will have to spend on healthcare as you get older. You really can't put a price on health and feeling good. So pure maple syrup, I'm okay with. The glycemic index of maple syrup ranges, but I would say for a good one, it's around 54. So this is kind of in the order of lowest to highest. You've got coconut nectar, honey, and then maple syrup. But you know, for pancakes, I really don't like the taste of these on pancakes. I would prefer a little bit of maple syrup. Sometimes I'll do a little combo. That kind of gets the point across. But like I said, these are all healthy sugar alternatives. I'm okay with all of these. In fact, I like having all of these in my house. Sometimes I'll alternate. So I wanted to make this video because I think it's important to point out that you don't have to always deprive yourself. You don't have to deprive yourself of like having a sweet taste of foods. You can really go about it the natural way. Even though you might see a higher sugar content in something like organic pure maple syrup versus equal, you have to think bigger picture and what it's actually doing to you. Of course, the last point to make, you don't want to have too much sugar. So you know, even though these are good sugar alternatives, still have it, you know, in moderation. And you can definitely train your taste buds. I always say this. I used to love salt. I used to put salt on apples, on everything. When you wean your taste buds off of it, you don't crave it as much. Like now I really can't have salty food. So with sugar and different sweeteners, you know, that's why you go from like milk chocolate to very, very dark chocolate. And then you try a milk chocolate bar later and it's way too sweet and it tastes gross. So with sugar, just, you know, lower your consumption, go for these healthy alternatives. And I'd love to hear your progress. Actually, leave it in the comments if you are trying this, if you have tried it, if you have any experience with different sugar alternatives. I'd love to hear. If you guys want links to all of these products, I'll put them below the video. Also, if you guys want to see my video on different foods that I usually use and substitute to fight cravings, because we all have cravings, like I'm saying, I have a whole list of those. I have a free video I made. You can check that out in the description. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.